I've written more business in the past 6 months than I have ever. Sales at the end of the day is nothing more than influence. That's it. Like if you want to influence the world in any way, shape, or form, you have to learn sales. Getting into something that teaches you just how to interact with people, gain trust, and do the right thing is the first thing that person needs to do transitioning. You find successful people in a field that you kind of enjoy or maybe are interested in, and find a way to serve them.
If we were friends in high school, Pat, and we almost were, I went to school with your wife.
Very close.
Who was Pat Moore, and why did you decide to join the military?
Oh man, that's a question I haven't been asked probably ever. Who was Pat? Pat was like that guy that got along with everybody, as I would tell you. Good student, loved sports, and yeah, I was just that guy that would get along with the goth kids, the jocks, the church kids. Like I had a lot of friends, and I got along with most people well. What stood out was I was always expected to be a good student, so that was kind of where I cut some of my identity. But I hated school at the same time. Like that is ultimately probably why I joined the military, because it was very patriotic family, right? None of my family had ever been in the military, though. So it was the idea that what's next in this crazy thing called life for an 18-year-old kid, right? Do you really just go from school to more school? Like that idea sounded terrible. Like I needed something else. And I graduated early from high school, and I had a recruiter walk up to me at Menards, because that's where I was working at the time, in Fox Lake, Illinois. And no kidding, it's like out of a movie how this happens. Like you're working at a stupid retail job as an 18-year-old kid, like with illusions of grandeur. Like you want to do something with your life. And I'm like, at the time, like, how the hell am I going to afford college? Like, this is terrible. Like the manager that I was working with was a complete douchebag. And I'm like, man, is this really all life is about? And no kidding, like out of the corner of my eye, a Marine Corps recruiter starts walking up to me in like the, not the blues, but the alphas, right? So the blue pants, the Chuck shirt. And he comes up to me and he's just like, son, I think you could do something more with your life. No shit. That is what happens. Like cliche as it could be. And I was like, oh God, you answer my prayers, right? Like that is what I should do. So, I went down that rabbit hole. Like I fought it for probably 6 months. Went back and forth. Didn't really know if like I really wanted to pull that trigger. But I ended up like having a friend who, through that process, I told him I'm thinking about doing this. Like, yeah, I'm going to do it too. And so funny enough, that friend pushed me over the edge and like went to MEPS the weekend before, showed up on my doorstep on Sunday and said, Pat, guess what I did? And I'm like, guess I'm going to MEPS next weekend. And so, yeah, joined the United States Marine Corps.
That's awesome, man. Why the reserves?
Because I knew, dude, so no one been in the military, no one in my family had been to college. Like I was always the student. It was always like, you're supposed to do that. So I knew I wanted both. It was probably something I wish I would have learned long ago, to just go in all the way on something versus try to, do two things at once. But that was kind of the beginning of me doing two things at once. I wanted the opportunity to do school, but I also wanted the opportunity to, serve my country, join the Marine Corps. And so I saw that as like the perfect solution to do both.
Absolutely. And how many years now?
22 years.
Nearing retirement. Retirement's coming up here.
Old as hell. You're just as old as me. I just want you to know that. Even if you've got a snazzy hat on. But 22 years, man. So I'm now a master sergeant in the Marine Corps Reserves. I'm going to be retiring in a little over 2 months.
That's awesome. Well, you've had active duty along those years too.
Yep.
What did that entail?
So yeah, I mean, my career is different than most, man. Like I have more active duty than most active duty, and I've done the reserves the majority of it still at the same time. So because of the time frame in which I served, by the way, that story I just told you happened August 17th of 2001. So I go to MEPS August 17th, 2001, raise my right hand. And well, guess
before
what?
9/11.
Yeah, the world changed a little bit a few weeks later. So joining the reserves in that time frame, it still was like basically my 20s were go to college for 2 years, go to Iraq, go to college for 2 years, go to Iraq. That was my flow, which is not a normal flow. Like for me, it was normal. For a good chunk of the guys that I served with, because we were all reservists in Chicago, it was used to us. But that is not a normal flow. It kind of forced me to live two lives for the last 22 years of my life.
Yeah. How do you think the military has set you up for success? Because you're also an entrepreneur.
Yep.
So how far along into that, your service time, how long into that did you become an entrepreneur?
Kind of all along the way. I had entrepreneurship tendencies, right? I'm a glutton for punishment is what I would tell you. I got into, some corporate gigs and then also some entrepreneurial stuff. Like I got into the financial world. So like I went to school for finance. I wanted to learn about money, and that's the thing I started learning about. So I thought I was going to teach people about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Like I thought that was the path that I was going to go down. And so that's definitely been a good part of my life. And the Marine Corps and entrepreneurship, at the end of the day, I think what they give young men, young ladies, is like a place to prove yourself, like a place to validate yourself. I really call both of them kind of the greatest, self-improvement platforms that there is.
I was just going to ask you that. Like, how do you think? And I mean, I could see this. I can see this in my mind right now, thinking that, and part of me is like regretful that I didn't transition to the reserves when I got out, because I think that would be a good transition plan for a veteran, is to have that reserve time to fall back on, because it's almost like a mentor, right? Self-improvement plan. It's keeping you on your toes and stuff like that when you get out, but you're not in the daily of the active stuff. How do you think that's helped you?
Yeah, I think it's been really helpful. It's been one, an automatic peer network, right? Like dudes that you get along with, people that you relate to, right? And so you kind of grow up with this group of people, which has been good for me, because, I mean, having people in your corner and someone that you can talk to is so important, especially in the years that I've served, in your 20s and 30s, the most important part of your life, like just really the core of what you are. I think it's huge. And then it also has, it's been everything for me. Like it's provided opportunities. It's way more interesting to talk about the Marine Corps than healthcare. And so it's a great topic of conversation. I enjoy talking about it more. And it's where I know all of my business associates and all my friends.
I agree, man. I think it's the greatest fraternity on earth. I think any Marine would say that,
100%,
because
100%.
When you meet somebody on the street, my brother thinks I'm weird because he's Army. But like when Marines
That's
meet,
because he doesn't understand that he's the weirdo.
Exactly. Yeah. He didn't have the balls to, I'm just kidding.
Boom, shakalaka. Yeah, man. No, I'm there. And then let's go into healthcare, like TRICARE, dude. I told you, I've been cheating healthcare forever, and the benefits inside of the reserves, additional opportunity to deploy, having healthcare for your family at a reasonable rate. There's a lot of good perks for the reserves. Yeah,
absolutely. Because when you transition, I know there was a lot of uncertainty when you get out. There's nothing set in stone that you're going to get a job. There's a lot more programs now than there was when I got out.
Yeah.
But it's still, you're jumping into the fire with both feet when you get out of the military. There's no turning back. You could go back.
No.
But do you want to?
No, it's tough. I think it is a really good play for most. I really think it probably is. Even if you don't make a career out of the reserves, I think the first couple of years coming home, it gives you that foundation. It's just so hard to transition. And as a reservist that's deployed and been activated more than most, right? I'm kind of an expert in transitioning because I've done it. I've done it 4 or 5 times throughout my life. And I realized it is not easy. And I'm a dude that has, I had a financial background. I had a master's degree, and no one that is 22 years old transitioning out of the military when they're super young with nothing has any of that. And so I think it's a big deal. I think it's probably a really good call for most folks. And
I have to imagine it's probably one of the best networking groups when you do get out, because there's obviously people in there. They're all reservists, most of them. They have jobs. They probably work for companies that are looking to hire people. So even if you did it for 4 years as a reservist, is that what the enlistment is, or 4 or 6?
Yeah. It's 6 years. 6 years. No, it's a good place. I mean, you have to do it right. Like, you could do it terribly, and it could mean absolutely nothing, right? And this is my time to make fun of grunts, because if you join, 6 years at an infantry battalion and that's all you do and that's all you know, probably not going to be too good on that side of the coin. But like, I am spoiled right now. So for the last 10 years of my Marine Corps career, I've kind of split it between two different things. It's 3rd Civil Affairs Group in North Chicago, Illinois, and then also the Wounded Warrior Regiment, Headquarters Marine Corps. And spoiled at 3rd CAG, like some of the smartest dudes that I have got to know. It's filled with a bunch of really intelligent guys, officers and enlisted, and it's a great place for networking. The Civil Affairs, just network in general, it's a great place for guys. I would definitely recommend people transitioning out of the Marine Corps active duty to look into that community, especially if you kind of consider yourself a brainiac, so to speak, like someone that is high thinking and wants to do more of the strategical side of the military. It's a great little spot.
That's sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
What are you going to miss the most?
Dudes, the guys, the team, the Marines. That's for sure. There's just nowhere else that you get to roll into a brand new group and you all have been told to go run 5 miles that day, and you all complain together. You all go do it. You get done, and then you complain some more, and then you're friends, right? Like, you're not going to find that anywhere else. It won't happen. That'll be the biggest thing that I'll neglect. But happy for the time, and I'm just fortunate that I'll still be able to affect folks and provide them advice.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate your service, man. And, it's good to be in arms with another devil dog that lives close by, that we get to hang out.
100%, man. 100%. Very much enjoy it. But, what you're doing is fantastic, man. Like, the effort and the work that you put behind it, I wish people understood just how hard it is to do what you do. I respect the hell out of it. Just the networking,
I appreciate
connecting,
that,
and helping people. And if I can ever do anything for you, I will. Anytime, I'm there for.
I appreciate
if I can
that,
ever
man.
help any of the veterans that you come across, the stuff I've done with the Wounded Warrior Regiment, I know more intricacies about benefits and just transitional tips than most. And so, if I can ever help, I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, really just helping the audience, that's what we're here to do, is to serve them. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, and I don't want vets to go through that same mistake or same challenges that I went through when I got out. So that's really what this is all about.
For sure. One thing, what I got to do. So today is St. Patty's Day.
It is
my day. So I have to at least have this on for the rest of the time being, and have this hat on.
You look just like
to be a proper leprechaun for you. I mean, there's a lot of Irish blood throwing through these veins, but when I think about it, like just some quick tips, and I know sometimes it's nice just to have someone who knows things just to say stuff that they know, right? And what I would tell you is, first and foremost, if you're eligible for the GI Bill, make sure you always keep at least a month. Always keep a month of GI Bill. And the reason why is because there's almost a second GI Bill for a lot of veterans, especially the veterans that end up needing it the most, quite frankly. And it's through the VA. So the VA has a job placement training program They totally changed the name of it, and I'm trying to remember what it is, but it's like Veteran Services. It used to be the Vocational Rehabilitation Program. They've changed the name, but if you Google vocational rehabilitation, you should probably find it with the VA. And if you are in a situation where like your industry gets kinked, so maybe you're a 50-year-old veteran, right? And you were a truck driver, and 5 years from now, Elon Musk makes it so that no truck drivers have a job because everything's automated. Through that program, you can go back to school. And if you have 1 month of GI Bill benefits left, it enables you to get paid while you're going through that program as a sergeant with BAH.
Really?
So huge tip. Very few people know about it. I only know because I had to talk to every VA rep in the entire Midwest, and I got to learn a bunch of interesting stuff. That's a huge tip. Second of all, there's a vet tech program out there. You can also use, if you're eligible for the GI Bill, you don't use your GI Bill, but you can get training at like some of the best coding schools and like computer-based schools. I mean, not bachelor's degrees, but practical technological skills for free. I mean, great schools like the school that my brother-in-law went to in Seattle. It was like code work or code. Anyways, not my world, but he paid probably $15,000 to go to this like 1 year program to become a coder, and now makes a couple $100,000 a year out in Seattle. You can go to that thing for free.
Yeah.
He had to roll the dice, pay all the money, quit his job, go to it. You get to go to that program for free.
It's funny you say that because I actually just interviewed a guy. His name's John Tansel, another Marine Corps vet.
Love it. Love it.
He works for Skillstorm, which they are a company that specializes in just that.
There you go.
So
there you go. That's awesome. It's just a fantastic program, and like the fact that this stuff is out there, it's amazing. Yeah, man.
What about starting a business? I mean, you're a business owner. What if I'm a vet? What sort of advice would you have for me? Go out there and work, find a job in the field that I want to work and start a business in, or just go both feet in the, jump in right away?
Find the two things, right? Like you want to find the richest veteran and you can find it because you go into these networks and you're like, hey, who's like a jarhead making money, right? Like
Yep.
you find successful people in a field that you kind of enjoy or maybe are interested in, and find a way to serve them. Forget the GI Bill. Forget all of those things. Find that person. They need help. Like they need help desperately. And as an entrepreneur or anybody that's in business or running a business, like there's more to do than can ever be done. And you're in a unique perspective. Well, they'll immediately trust you because of your background. Obviously, you have to earn that trust. I've met my fair share of absolutely terrible veterans. Never Marines, though. Marines are never terrible. But I mean, find a way to serve them, man. That is the biggest hack, is find people and find a way to help them. And I think it's kind of like the Patrick Bet-David talks about the Intrapreneur. Like I think that's a really good spot for most vets to start. Especially I think most vets are really good in a like a small team environment. Corporate environment's really tough to feel like you're part of the team or have any type of insight. But yeah, I would find one of the wealthiest veterans you could find, or a vet that has a business and they need help. Find a way to support them. You'll learn so much from them. Even if it doesn't end up making you any money, or you're not a long-term partner, or you don't go that route, you'll learn so much from that. You'll kind of know if it's a business that you want to start in the future, or if you want to completely never touch that, because you'll know pretty quickly. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that, just interviewing people like veterans in general. One of the things that almost every one of them has said, and I can speak to this myself too, is go find that mentor that can help you, even if they're not a veteran. If they own a business, learn everything they know. Do all the things that they're doing and just mimic it. I mean, you don't have to be the innovator. You just have to be a good imitator, right?
I love that. That's gold right there. Drop the mic on that, Brian. Yeah, that's great. No, it's like what I've done with like I recently took, kind of left full-blown entrepreneurship world, and I joined in running a brokerage at Axum. Kind of doing exactly what I just told you. Like I ran across a really, really innovative jarhead in my field. Been kind of, he had 5 or 6 years ahead of me on my entrepreneurship path, and like our skill sets match. And so finding a way to support him, help him where it's at, it's been the biggest financial boom. I've written more business in the past 6 months than I have ever. And so teaming up with people, it's always good. I mean, when you add more people in the mix, there's always room for heartache and bad feelings. But, that's how you learn. And that's what I would recommend for almost anybody.
Well, I think veterans, too, are used to that anyway.
There you go. There you go.
You got to adapt and overcome, and you're going to run into challenges. You got to figure out a way to get through it.
You would. Yeah, and I've gotten to the point where I almost don't want veterans to share their talents with non-veterans. Like, call me crazy. Like, I feel like we immediately go and, like, take big corporate jobs or try to go here, there, and everywhere. And, it's almost like giving away our secret sauce. And I'd love it for more veterans to be able to start their own businesses, to be able to build their own thing, and just keep the benefit that I know most veterans bring to the table in that arena.
I agree. It's a force.
100%, dude.
It's a force, man. Healthcare. You've been in it for a long time. If I'm a veteran and I'm looking to get into the insurance industry, what type of veteran should take a look at the insurance industry, number one? Because you can make a lot of money in this industry.
There you go.
There's a lot of money to be made when you...
It's very true.
Especially when you're on the sales side or the ownership side. Why should veterans take a serious look at the insurance industry? Two
things. One, you can make a lot of money. One account can make you $100,000. There's real money in it, and you can make real money doing the right thing, which is the crazy thing. Second of all, it matters. So I see healthcare, and it's my perverted, crazy way of thinking, but I see healthcare as a national security issue. I truly do. And it's one of the reasons I'm retiring. I literally feel like this is something I can do. I can affect more than what I'm doing in the reserves. Like I'm not fixing Russia or China, man. Like I'm just not. I'm a master sergeant in the Marine Corps. I'm not going to be able to fix that problem. But what I know about healthcare matters. And I think the veteran community can do a lot about that. And the reason they can do a lot about that is there's at every major company in the country, there is a veteran HR representative that recruits veterans. And those veterans, and HR controls this thing that I deal with, right? They are the person kind of in control of the healthcare budget at most companies, or have a big say in it. So veterans are connected to the person that's controlling the second biggest expense for most companies. And that affects stuff because guess what? If we don't slow down these $3,000 a month family plans, like Warren Buffett calls healthcare the tapeworm of the economy. And it is. Like no one realizes just how much money is taken up out of the economy because of healthcare. It's just they deal with it. They know it sucks. Like they hate their deductibles. But when you start looking at the macro effect, I mean, it's $4 trillion a year that we spend in healthcare. Big chunk of it's waste. Just a huge chunk of its waste. And so if we don't fix it, I think it ends up gobbling up more and more of the federal budget. And it becomes a thing that stops us from defending our country. I really see it as a national security issue. Little geeky on my part, I get it. But that's really how I feel about it. And like, for example, the Department of Defense last year spent more money on healthcare than the entire United States Marine Corps.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. So we talk about getting, like, I feel like every year someone's talking about maybe getting rid of the Marine Corps. We don't need those guys. Damn it. Cut your healthcare expenses before you get rid of the Marine Corps. That's how I feel about it.
I would agree with that. So The other thing that about the insurance industry is you don't have to go to school. Like, you just go get licensed, right? I mean, you can go to school. There's certifications you can get, but to get in, the barrier to entry, I feel like, is a lot easier than going to school and then wasting 4 years and trying to figure out what you want to do, and then you don't even use your degree.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, because quite frankly, another skill that. So here's also what I think about it. Like, you have all these different types of veterans, right? Like, you got the joker, the guy that everyone likes, everyone's listening to in the corner all the time. Dude, you got to learn sales. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to learn sales. It's probably the most important thing for that guy to learn, because that's what he's going to be the most successful in. And so getting into something that teaches you just how to interact with people, gain trust, and do the right thing is the first thing that person needs to do transitioning. And yeah, healthcare and insurance definitely teaches you that game. It's a huge part of it. And then you also got, like the sniper, right? Like that guy that is the smartest guy in the room, but never says anything, right? That person should also look into it, because there's more to learn than you can ever learn. Mm-hmm. And so your mind can do an incredible thing around it. I mean, my partner, Jim, like, that's his background, and it's why he's been so successful, because he just has this big, massive dome, and he thinks about things that most people won't. And so that type of perspective is something that type of veteran can really, really affect this community, and I think it's important. And then, other veterans that don't fall into that category, like, it's just a place that you can make a difference. And I think that is the thing that most veterans seek after they leave some type of service. They want to have a purpose bigger than themselves, even if it doesn't involve humping a pack or running or doing all types of ridiculous things with their time. But they still want that. They still desire that. And I think this is an industry that they can get that. Absolutely.
Sales, I mean, a lot of people say, I don't want to be in sales. I don't want to do sales. But realistically, if you want to get a job, you have to sell yourself to that employer. Or, if you're interviewing with 10 different companies, you have to sell yourself 10 times to each of those companies.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are just so afraid of the word sales?
Because it's been given a bad name, right? Because when you think of sales, you think of a car salesman. When you think of sales, you think of that person chasing you down the mall trying to convince you to buy another pair of shoes, right? Like, sales at the end of the day is nothing more than influence. That's it. Like, if you want to influence the world in any way, shape, or form, you have to learn sales. Like, if you want to make a difference, you have to learn sales. So, like, I don't talk about what you need to sell, but you need to be able to influence. And that's where people need to focus on. It's important. So if you want to do something with your life, you're going to have to learn sales. So you might as well do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. You were in that Wounded Warrior Regiment, so you probably dealt with some veterans who had to transition out of the military and, find a job, once they hit the civilian world. What advice would you have for a military service member who's looking at transitioning out of the military, in the next 6 to 12 months?
Start thinking about it right now. I mean, that's the best piece of advice I could give you. I mean, it's a tough thing to think about. That's a huge transition in your life. It's almost as big as like having your first kid or getting married. Like, it's a big part of your life. So take it seriously. The first step is that networking piece, right? Because at that age, like I always say that guys specifically, our brains don't even work until about age 35. So I would say that's most guys transitioning out of the military. And so you got to talk to people, get people's opinions. Like, something I should have done a lot better is to be less arrogant. Listen to people. Ask them questions. Get their opinion. Because the way you see yourself and the way others see you might be two different things. And getting that perspective, it's good. And so you talk to other people, get their advice. Be specific in what you want. because if you're specific in telling people where you want to go, I think generally people want to help each other. And if they can help, they're going to. But if you go to someone and like, yeah, I'm transitioning, I don't know what to do. What should I do, man? Well, I don't know. I have no idea what you should do. Like you have to have something specific that you want to move to. And so network, have a plan, start yesterday. That's really important. And find someone who knows all the details about benefits. Like you need that. You need that support. You're not going to know it, but you don't have to figure it all out for yourself. Reach out to your local VSOs. This is something I had no idea what that even was until I was part of the Wounded Warrior Regiment. And that type of resource locally is definitely a good thing.
Great advice. You are one of the best I know on LinkedIn. You know, you do some really cool things. That's how we originally met, right?
It is how we originally met.
So how powerful has that been, not just for your business, but I mean, we met through their fellow veterans, fellow Marine Corps brothers. Why should veterans, start using that now, when they're in that transition?
So it's like that. I think it's probably the last piece of social media that people mostly trust, right? Just because most people pay to be a part of it. I think that's a good starting point. For the most part, people are professional on that platform. It's just a way to get to whoever you need to get to, right? Like I'll answer almost anybody that hits me on LinkedIn, and I will not answer most people almost anywhere else, which is kind of crazy to think about. But it's just the platform allows you to reach the demographic and the folks you need to. And for veterans specifically, like you have a leg up because every vet wants to help a dude getting out. I do.
Yep.
I do. Like if I'm talking to a Marine and they're transitioning, like my door's open to you, right? Yeah. Like I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to try to help you in the best way I possibly can. And it's that tool that people need. Not to mention, it was founded by like the idea of getting a job, right? Like its core was how do I get a job? And so it's heavy HR. And so it gives you the opportunity to network with all those veteran recruiters that have opportunities that you need to know about and could help you during that transition process.
Yeah. It realistically, it helps you get in touch with the decision makers. You can't just find people's emails all the time or find their phone numbers directly. But LinkedIn gives you that opportunity to talk to these people directly. That's what I love about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love it. And like when you actually start putting content out and actually putting some investments into it, people still see it. Like on LinkedIn or on Facebook and Instagram, there are so many people on that platform. It's like throwing a pebble into the ocean, right? Like it's going to take a lot to make a difference there. LinkedIn's still a place that if you put stuff out there, people will see it.
Absolutely. Last question. Before Pat Moore leaves this earth, what kind of impact and legacy does he want to leave behind in the community or the world?
Man, that's a very deep question, Brian. I think at the end of the day, if I had to sum it up, I would just like to, every person that I interact with, I would like to make them feel good. Like I want to give more than I receive, and I want to honor my commitments at the end of the day. I mean, I want people to look back, and when they think about Pat Moore, that is two things that I bring to the table in every interaction that I have with people. And I also know at the end of the day that when I die, I think my kids will remember me, right? I'm pretty sure they'll remember me. Like maybe they'll like me. But yeah, this life is short. People will forget you. So don't be scared to go after things, because if you fail, they won't remember. And if you succeed, they actually might.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this one, check out these videos right over here. And we'll see you in the next video.